The Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast, starts now. Well, Coach, welcome back, everybody, to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. It's been a long summer break for both Coach and I, and we've been doing a lot of thinking about the podcast and are so excited to continue to bring you the best Liverpool content out there. Coach, how are you? How was your summer?
Doing good, Salim. I'm sure that, like Liverpool fans all over the world, it's been a busy summer. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to think about, and the season's only a couple of weeks away now.
Yeah. Coach, the summer started with the Liverpool celebration. There was a small snap. I wouldn't call it small. I guess it depends who was affected by it, but a snafu that happened there, where a car driver had I believe, a medical emergency and kind of put a damper on the parade.
Yeah, actually, it was intentional. Where a driver drove into the crowd, and it put a bit of a damper on the day, unfortunately. And as you say, it was an unfortunate incident. It wasn't a tragedy, but it could have been. And then, unfortunately, we did have a tragedy this summer, which was the Diogo Jota incident, where he crashed and was sadly killed with his brother.
Yeah, I remember when I woke up that morning, it's surreal. It's almost like you didn't believe it. And it was really difficult to stomach. And it's amazing, kind of us as fans, how we're tied to these people and emotionally committed and involved. And it was a very, very sad morning for me. I was pretty upset.
Yes. I mean, in all the years that I've followed the game, I can never quite recall an incident like this. There's been a couple of incidents on the field where maybe players have gone down, and it's been serious. But to lose a player who was in his prime, a key member of a top team, and then to die so tragically, particularly as he was taking a route back to England that normally he wouldn't have taken. It was something to do with the recommendation of a doctor vis-a-vis some procedure that Jota had previously. So he wasn't flying back to England. He was going to take a ferry. So under normal circumstances, he wouldn't have been in that situation, which just makes it even more tragic.
Yeah, the fans putting out all the flowers and the wreaths and the messages right there at Anfield, and his Portuguese teammates, Ruben Neves being one as one of his best friends. I mean, it was really, really heartbreaking just to see how many people were impacted by it. And obviously, I think about it as a family. Two parents lose two sons in a blink of an eye, and his wife, who they were just recently married, and their three kids. I mean, it was really difficult. It was really difficult when you kind of put all that stuff in perspective. But saying all that, Coach, the fans showed up, showed their support. The team showed up, showed their support, and even Everton came and showed their support. It kind of brought everybody together and just kind of let us keep in mind that this is something we're passionate about, but at the end of the day, it is a sport. It is for enjoyment.
True. Unfortunately, Liverpool seem to have been embroiled in one too many of these situations, because this year is actually the 40th anniversary of the Heysel disaster, and obviously Hillsborough, and so it was very appropriate what's happened. Lots of tributes, not just from Liverpool fans, but as you say, from Everton and from people all over the game. And obviously there was the huge Portuguese connection Many of his national teammates were playing in the Club World Cup, and tributes over in this country for Diogo and his brother.
Yeah. Coach, FSG, has been under a lot of, I guess, I don't know, not turmoil, but people are back and forth on how the ownership of FSG has impacted Liverpool, whether it's with transfers in, transfers out, all that stuff. And realistically, FSG stepped up and did something really, really special. They terminated the Jota contract before. I guess there's a death clause in all contracts that terminates them, which protects clubs. But they terminated it first from a standpoint to continue to pay out his 2-year deal to his family. And I mean, what a touch of class that is.
Yeah, a lot of class. I mean, FSG and I believe we're going to talk about them at length here. I think they've been very good owners. Very good owners, and it's small little details like this that, as you say, is a classy move, and just shows the kind of people that they are. And yes, the small things that make a difference, and obviously they are totally behind Diogo Jota's family. They retired the number. Like they've kept his contract to the very end. And they've tried their best to offer support to Jota's family, and they can only they can only be acknowledged positively for that, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. And Coach, you mentioned the 40-year anniversary and this, and I couldn't help but wonder that this is what makes this club so special. The togetherness, you'll never walk alone, like always just kind of being together and, celebrating together and also dealing with these tragedies together. It's really a special, special club. And yes, we're fans and yes, we're biased, but realistically, I mean, this is what makes, families stronger and people stronger. And this is what makes this club so special.
Yeah. As I said, they've had to deal with a fair share of tragedy through the decades and what have you, and it's just a very sad situation. And I think this season clearly is going to be dedicated to the memory of Diogo Jota and his brother.
Absolutely. Now, getting to FSG, there's two divided camps about them being good owners or not good owners. Coach, me and you are in the camp that they've been good owners, and I think responsible owners is also another key fact in actually when you describe FSG. And last year we were all kind of, not all, but a lot of people were moaning about the lack of transfer activity, new coach. There was a unheard of coach really for the most part, and they come out flying and win the Premier League.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think what you have to understand with FSG is they've been in charge of the club now for 15 years. And if you look at the time in charge in total, first thing that they had to do was kind of learn the English game, because clearly, I mean, like they own the Boston Red Sox. I mean, like there's no transfers with the Boston Red Sox, and the whole financial setup is very, very different to football and football in England. So they've had to learn and make their way around the transfer market, and we'll talk about that in a second. They have made some missteps, but they've soon backed off them. I mean, there was Project Big Picture, where in tandem with Manchester United, who are also American owned, like they wanted to have a separate deal for the biggest clubs and television rights and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That was a misstep, and the biggest one for most people was kind of attaching themselves to the ill-fated European Super League. Been a couple of other things to do with ticket prices and so on and so forth, but I think that if you look at their tenure, that what they have done is that they've built a very strong infrastructure for the club. Because the biggest issue in modern football, one that I'm not a big fan of, is the way that the finances have changed. And that began when Roman Abramovich came in at Chelsea and poured a lot of money into the club. And then later on, we had the situation with Manchester City. And so essentially what happened with both of those moves is just to compete at the very top. All of a sudden, you had to shell out a lot more money. And the way that FSG have spent a lot of money this summer, and it clearly seems like they're going to spend more. But for them to get there, it wasn't really a shortcut, because it wasn't like they were coming in and saying, okay, we've got all this money, right, we'll spend it. They've actually built up to be able to compete with Chelsea and Manchester City. And whilst, being considerably older than the modern fan, to them it's natural. To me, it's not natural. I would like to see equity across the board, which may not necessarily favour Liverpool, but it's for the benefit of the game. And FSG have built up the finances of the club that they can compete now with both Chelsea and Manchester City. And I don't know if you have a similar perspective to me on that.
I do, yeah. Also, Coach, I think Anfield being such a special stadium, you're hearing about Chelsea moving into a new stadium potentially, and taking Stamford Bridge down, and I believe the Bernabeu, Real Madrid is potentially looking at another stadium. So there's these clubs that have these impressive stadiums that are looking to move to other ones, and FSG is realizing how special Anfield is, and they're building on top of it to get extra seats in so more fans can go into the game. Obviously, there is a financial reward from that as well, but I absolutely think that as well. I think FSG has been responsible. I think that's the most key thing that you can say about it. We're never in hot water. We're always ready to strike on opportunities when they pop up. And this summer has been a key indication of that. That just because we didn't spend last year, it doesn't mean we won't spend this year. It doesn't mean we're cheap. We are just very opportunistic, and this summer's market was ripe for the taking, and Liverpool and FSG were ready to pounce. They had the financial status. PSR wasn't an issue at all. And although other clubs were looking to the next new shiny toy available and going after it always, Liverpool kind of bided their time. FSG bided their time, and they flexed their financial muscles this summer, which is something I'm going to be really excited to talk about. But right now, guys, we are going to have several different episodes. We wanted just to cover the summer as far as kind of what happened with the celebration, what happened with Diogo, and kind of talk about FSG and how they are as owners. And like Coach said, and I said, we are very, very happy to have these people as our owners. And we are going to now sign off for episode one, actually part one of the 3-part episode. And we will see you in a little bit. Coach and I want to take a second to thank everybody for watching on YouTube or listening on podcast format wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe or follow wherever you consume our content. We are looking forward to continuing to bring you the best Liverpool content out there. We'll see you next week.